A $1 trillion farm bill was just signed into law by President Barack Obama yesterday. While it is called the Farm Bill, in truth, it's actually a food bill setting 5 years of eating and farming policy in the U.S., including what we grow, what we know about your dinner, and how much the government spends in the process. Well, here to tell us a little bit more about it is political consultant Dallas Jones. Thank you for joining us again this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And tell us a little bit about I know we touched on it just a bit here, but tell us a little bit about the Farm Bill. You know, at first, when you look at that, it's a little deceptive. Tell us a little bit about it.
Essentially what it is, it's a $1 trillion bill that sets farming and food policies over the next 5 years, as you mentioned. And what it does is it addresses things such as the food stamp issue, which has been a really hot topic in terms of Congress negotiating this bill. It cuts some benefits at about $8 billion over the course of the bill. In addition, it sets farming policies in a number of areas such as conservation. It determines in terms of our meat, chicken, beef, or pork, if it has been, you now have to label it where it has been slaughtered, where it has been, and so it tells you a lot more about what's happening. So it's some stricter regulation. Congress has debated this bill for a while, but they're touting it as a bipartisan effort. Everybody kind of gave a little bit in some areas in order to get this done.
And we hear a lot about this being a bipartisan effort. And for the average American, of course, you want to know, how does this impact me? How would it impact my food?
Well, the goal is that it makes our food safer, that it helps us to understand more the processes that goes into what we eat. We also hope that it helps to level the playing field in terms of what's happening with our land. That's important, and it feeds to our overall environment. So what this bill does is it changes the way that farmers are being paid. Some folks have been paid for 82 years on government subsidies, and that's how the value of their farms have been determined. What this does is it puts the burden on what's called crop insurance, and then it allows the federal government to take a lot more of the risk. Well, that will affect our deficit in the event of bad weather or anything that happens in terms of the agriculture industry having any type of disaster.
And so, you know, we can't help but be concerned about this as well. Will it affect our bottom line? And we're talking about our pocketbooks.
For some folks, not here in Texas, in terms of the food stamp program, but in other states, the food stamp program has been cut tremendously because they were essentially funding other programs like energy assistance and rental assistance. We didn't do that here in Texas, so our folks will not see any more cuts than they already did in the stimulus bill that was passed back in November.
Okay, and our last question here before we go, will the government be able to regulate what can be grown with this bill?
Absolutely. Subsidies are given for, on a particular things such as what's called row crops. And so what that means is things like wheat, soy, the king of American agriculture, corn, are given more subsidies. Sushi rice is given subsidies in terms of trying to give farmers incentive to grow more of these crops.
Right. Okay. Well, you're definitely speaking our language. You're talking about food, and we do appreciate you coming in to break this bill down for us.
Absolutely.
Thank you again. Well, for more on the Farm Bill and how it impacts you, just go to our website at abc13.com.